let's talk about the Conservative Party now.
Is there such a thing?
No, there's not.
Not
Right?
anymore.
No.
And this is what the National Conservative Conference showed us, actually. The Conservative Party clearly has been captured by liberalism.
Yeah.
They're open about this. And the actual Conservatives who are saying, look, maybe we shouldn't be perverting children. Maybe we should be promoting family values. Maybe we should have a secure nation state and the borders. All of these things that we just took for granted when we were young.
Yeah.
We just didn't even question it. Of course you should have all these things. Well, these are now... fringe conservative beliefs. And then, because the thing about the National Conservative Conference to me is that should be the Conservative Party conference.
I was going to ask, why is it called the National?
Because they're a movement within inside the Conservative Party of dispossessed conservatives who have been like essentially sidelined by the liberal conservatives, like Rishi Sunak and Matt Hancock.
I don't even know what Matt Hancock is. Is he even human?
Well, actually, you know what? It's interesting you say that because we are going to cover that exact topic on this podcast.
Okay,
is Matt Hancock a human?
Or is he a lizard?
I look at him and I just think, I don't even know what you are, mate.
Well, I totally agree.
What species is that?
I totally
He
agree.
was very lucky to get laid. That's all I can say.
I honestly think it must have been paid for by the Chinese. I honestly think it's,
Exactly.
like he strikes me as the kind of guy who has never got any attention from women, and therefore, if a Chinese paid spy comes over, and he can't use any critical thinking on it, and then he gets got, doesn't he?
Have you seen that interview with him where he says, "Oh, let's move on"? Basically, he's saying,
Yeah, well, we'll get to it. Yeah, we're going to cover it because it's just
shut up.
no, sorry, you're just you're getting ahead because it really is like crazy. Now, I used to be a liberal, say 5-6 years ago, and then I started looking deeply into the philosophical roots of liberalism, and it definitely had justification at the time, but as you can go to lotus.com and see, I wrote a bunch of articles about this because it's rooted in assumptions about the world and human nature that just aren't really true.
Yeah.
We've never been an individual species wandering around the woods in total freedom. That's never been the case. We've always been communal. We've always lived together.
Yeah.
And that's really why I've become a conservative, because that's the conservative perspective on what the human animal is. It's like, look, we live together and we obviously want freedom and property and, we want, fair governance and all this sort of stuff. But we don't need to be ideological about that. We can just say we feel that these are the right things to do because they are the right things to do. And we don't want the government tyrannizing us, but conversely, we don't want like people being left alone forever and never being, we want people to be brought into society, and feel that they belong, right? And so this is why I'm like, because being a liberal is actually a very strict ideological place to go to that's not conservative and actually has its own set of like remote diktats. And so if you can go to the next one, John, I wrote a couple of articles about just the wrong assumptions that liberalism is based on, but also I did a debate with Stelios on this, which I think I won very handily, saying, look, it's not that liberalism wasn't good, and it's not that there's nothing salvageable in it, obviously. There are certain values that liberalism adheres to that obviously any normal person will adhere to, but the commitments that come with it are too heavy. And so we can take those values into a conservative framework and say, of course we want to conserve our personal liberty, of course we want, but we don't have to be committed to all of the other things that come with it, which is like the total freedom of the person, as in freedom to be against your own body. Is I'm a transgender now. It's like, you're not born in the wrong body. Your body's your body and you have to come to terms with it, things like that. And so this is why, and the reason I'm bringing this up, right, is because there is a very strong liberal movement in the Conservative Party, and it's not conservative. That's the thing. And an example of this is Bright Blue. Bright Blue is an independent think tank and pressure group for liberal conservatism. Now, liberal conservatism is a contradiction. You are a liberal or you are a conservative. Right? It's not there's no crossover, but it goes in different directions. Right? And they had Matt Hancock on. Matt Hancock, you go to the next one. Everyone's favourite, absolute goon. This is the sort of thing he stood up and said to this group. He says, those of us who believe in a liberal conservative agenda, don't know what that means, have got to stand up to the conservative Corbynistas. Instead of concentrating on the politics of progress of the people who preach the sort of cancel culture that they abhor from the left. Well, who's he talking about?
I have no idea.
Exactly. What constituency is that?
That's like a word salad.
Yes, it's word salad. It's gobbledygook. Yeah.
And then he went on to say, we should have a decent policy debate about the things that unite us across the Conservative Party. Positive, forward-looking agendas is what the exactly right. Just kill me now.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Positive forward-looking agenda is what the Conservative Party can offer. Be brave, my liberal conservative friends. Get out there, make the argument, stand up to the reactionaries, wherever we find them. At the National Conservative Conference, Michael Gove was on stage and he was asked, are there any people in the Conservative Party you think should be in the Liberal Democrats? And he said, no, not at all. It's like,
There's one.
this is a Liberal Democrat. Like, and if you're a Liberal Democrat, that's fine, but you're not a Conservative.
No.
You shouldn't be in the Conservative Party. He carries on, right? Matt Hancock tells Rishi Sunak to kill the culture war strategy and support socially liberal values that most people under 50 support. And he says the only way for the party to survive is to do this or else it'll die. Oh, no, not the Conservative Party. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, that would be awful.
I think it's good. Dead already.
Yeah, exactly. Are you not looking at your polling numbers?
Exactly.
But also, what culture war strategy? Rishi Sunak is as wet as they come.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like he's Nigel Farage out there banging the table.
No. Well, it's interesting with Nigel Farage because he's just about probably one of the most powerful political figures in the UK, without any kind of home to go to.
That's true.
Actually,
isn't it?
I mean, we've met Nigel on quite a few occasions, and what I personally like about him is he likes kicking up the dust.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
He's got fire in his belly.
He has.
He does,
and I think kicking up the dust is exactly what we need.
Well,
which is what Trump did. He actually kicked up the dust, and now we see what happens.
on that subject, what do you think Matt Hancock thinks of that? He probably hates that, right?
Yes,
I think so. What does he mean? The culture war? What culture war is he referring to? Is he talking about immigration? Is he talking about trans movement? What
free speech? Who
Free
knows?
speech?
Just no culture war though. Because he thinks he's
I'm
in
not
the
in a
driver's
culture
seat.
war.
No, well, I am, but that's only because they make us.
Yes, yeah.
It's,
Right, okay.
I otherwise I'd have lived and let live.
Yes.
Right. But no, this is exactly. If you go to the next one, the thought that we can import some sort of Trumpian Republican American politics is completely wrong. Brits do not wear divisive American politics. It would end the Conservative Party as an electoral force. Now, isn't that kind of saying that Nigel Farage could destroy the Conservative Party?
Trumpian Republican.
I mean, I love Trump. So.
Yeah, well,
I prefer Trump to Hancock. That's for sure.
well, absolutely, exactly. I mean, it's. I'm at the moment. I've just started reading it. It's the Strange Death of Europe by Douglas Murray.
Oh, it's
and
brilliant.
what I think is interesting about that, and I've just touched the surface about it, is it's to do with the self-confidence of Europe and this country, and if there's no self-confidence being sold from the top, if there's nothing but apology and a kind of sort of shifting in the seat embarrassment about cringing, as opposed to I mean, I hate to mention Margaret Thatcher, but whatever you thought of her, there was never any doubt that what side she was on. And I remember very distinctly when they launched the new BA colours on the rear wing of the plane, and it was sort of they were sort of it's just sort of abstract patterns, and she threw a serviette over it until they painted it with a Union Jack. Now, you can argue that good or bad, I don't care, but at least you knew what what her position was. My problem with Sunak and Starmer is that I think they have allegiances beyond the British people.
Well, can I quote Keir Starmer there? When he was asked, do you prefer Westminster or Davos?
Don't.
He didn't say Westminster, folks.
Exactly.
Yeah. He literally basically pledged allegiance to Davos, and it was just like, okay.
Yeah, your business, the people that put you there, I feel really strongly about this. That I think the British people are getting so shortchanged by the level of politics and politicians in this country. And when Starmer says that tells you exactly what he is. He doesn't care about the British people. He doesn't care about anything but the agenda that he himself is following. That's what I was saying to you earlier, which is he doesn't care if he loses the election. I think he actually wants to lose the election because he knows that Starmer's a Remainer, he's a Remainer, and within 10 years we'll be back in the EU.
It's exactly the same agenda, isn't it?
It is.
That's the thing. It's exactly the same agenda.
Yeah.
And the only difference that I can see between Starmer and Sunak is that Sunak is prepared to say that 100% of women have no penises, and Starmer's just like, no, it's 99.99% of women. It's like, right, so there's 0.01% of that's the crack of light between you, is it?
Yeah, I know.
Bloody hell.
It is. Well, it's like the New Zealand, the new replacement for President Japan. When he was I can't remember his name now. Funny little bloke. He looks like a librarian.
He's
can't remember his name.
I know the guy you're talking
about. And when he was
Yeah.
asked what a woman is, it was like saying, "Can you please describe to me a Martian?" He had no reference points at all.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it was the same with, was it Joe Swinson, the Liberal Democrat leader who had to resign after her catastrophic defeat at 2019. She was asked this on like LBC or something, and it was like a 20-minute meltdown where she just like dissolved, and it was like, what's wrong with you?
Am I wrong in thinking she had a great pair of boobs?
I think that I'm not allowed to comment on that.
I can't remember that.
I seem to remember she had a good rack. That's all I remember. Yeah.
Well, she should be prime minister.
She should be prime minister. Absolutely.
And that's how we're going to get Penny Mordaunt. So anyway,
moving on.
People are complaining about house prices, such as the very popular London mayor Sadiq Khan.
Oh, yo.
And Sadiq Khan would like house price fixing. Right now, price fixing, as any economist will tell you, doesn't work.
No.
Because supply and demand is essentially an immutable law of economics, and you can't just legislate against it. So instead of saying, well, London is a certain amount of the country, and places in London can't actually grow. There's no room for them to grow. And so there has to be something done to the demand side of the equation, because the supply side of the equation is actually rather squeezed.
Limited, like Gibraltar.
He doesn't bring that up for some reason. Yeah,
He's failed on all these housing policies, hasn't he?
Of course he has.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if it helps, there's kind of no way to fix the housing crisis, right?
No.
Like the only alternative would be literally to brick over every square inch of England in order to house millions of people from overseas for some reason, which will give us economic growth, even though it's clearly not happening. I mean, we've literally had millions in, and look at our economy. You know,
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So this clearly is not a winning strategy. But he's not wrong, though, to say that, look, you know, majority of young people can't save the way to the deposit. No, they can't. Of course they can't. But why don't you speak about the problem, which is the sheer demand from the inflow of people that the Labour government in the early 2000s and now the Conservative for the last 30 years have been allowing to just increase year on year. I mean, you know, 500,000 net last year, million total.
Yeah.
And of course, as we'll talk about later, they're expecting 1 million in this year. It's like 1 million net this year. It's like,
Well, my feeling is I think this is intentional. I don't believe that this is. I also think that Sadiq Khan is a liar. He's either a liar or a reformist. He's one of the two. You can't be a fundamental Muslim and walk in front of the gay pride march. You can't do that.
I would say so.
You can't. Do
I'm
that.
not a Muslim. What do I
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
it's one or the other. You either are a reformist like Majid Nawaz, or you are a fundamentalist.
Yeah.
And he needs to come clean. I think.
I think it's obvious that he's a progressive.
Yeah.
You know, he's not really a Muslim. He is a progressive.
Yeah. Well, for me, you know, sometimes it's the detail, that the small stuff that counts. When I saw the Christmas tree, I knew that he didn't care about London.
Oh,
He doesn't care about London.
what was it about the Christmas tree?
It was ragged. It was an embarrassment.
Yeah.
It was exactly the kind of Christmas tree you would have if you didn't give a hoot about
Christmas tree
Christianity.
you give to your neighbours you don't like.
Yeah, exactly. And that tells you everything. Tells you everything.
Yeah.
It's the small stuff that counts. Excuse me.
So anyway, going back to Bright Blue, they've got a liberal vision for the housing policy, which is just build more houses. That's it.
Right.
Build hundreds of thousands of houses across Britain.
Okay.
It's like to house the third world that we're bringing in.
Oh, I see.
Oh, I see.
And it's like, well, okay, but
But they can't afford the houses. Can
well, we'll be paying for them.
they? Oh, will they?
So we're going to be
Like the hotel room,
These will be government-built
Right.
houses,
Right.
And they complain that we're struggling to even build 200,000 houses a year. It's like, God, that's a lot of houses,
That is a lot.
and they want over 300,000 a year.
Right.
And they say the result is that millions of people are stuck paying eye-watering rents, and that's true because
Yes.
of course, as the supply fails to keep up with the demand,
Yeah.
the money, the amount that they have to pay for the product goes up,
Yeah.
right? And so if you get to the next one, Rishi Sunak recently came out and said, well, we're going to block building new houses. Now, don't get me wrong, he is right. It's what people want. People don't want every square inch of England concreted over for massive tenements to hold people from overseas. That is true. But if you go to the next one, he's also walked back, what a surprise, any pledge to reduce net immigration.
Right.
Okay.
Are they trying to throw him off the plane there?
Oh, if only. I mean, excuse me, Mr. Sunak, we're literally going to have
To throw you off the plane.
Yeah. He does look a little bit concerned.
Yes, he
doesn't
does. Yeah.
But this then puts us in an impossible position now. Okay, so if you're not going to build houses, but you are going to bring millions of people in, then the house prices are going to go up. Housing will be just squeezed, so you'll have people in, at the very least, incredibly suboptimal housing arrangements, if not increase of the homeless people, and that'll probably end up increasing crime and truancy and all the delinquency and all this sort of stuff. This is a recipe for just massive social unrest and destruction of the actual the life plan of young people is what's being destroyed.
It's exactly what they want.
Yeah,
exactly. It is
exactly what they want.
It is literally you are going to own nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll talk about the happy part afterwards.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
But you are going to own nothing. And if you're a young person looking at this, okay, what's your future? Are you going to get 150 grand together to buy a house?
My daughter's a doctor.
Yeah.
And she's got £54,000 to pay back because after 6 years, and them, her and her fiance trying to get on the housing market.
Good luck.
Is bloody difficult.
And that's in Wales.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. Also, the trouble is with mass immigration or uncontrolled immigration, what it doesn't address is the needs of the immigrant as well, because they won't get the life they're hoping for if there's too many of them. It doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve the host nation, and it doesn't serve the newcomers.
Also,
it's a miserable idea.
Exactly. Also, I have a real problem with people who blame the immigrants.
Yeah, it's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
I would do the same.
The fault is in the House of Commons.
Yes,
That's
it is,
where the fault is.
Yeah.
It's in the border force, in the House of Commons, and the complete lack of spine.
Yeah, this is the thing, because all of this, Suella Braverman put forward 5 proposals to the government. She's the Home Secretary, so she's the person with the power, and Sunak blocked her proposals to reduce immigration. Because all this really comes down to is not approving visas. I'd like to come and live in the UK. Sorry, not approved. That no one gets hurt, no one's rights are violated. It's a totally reasonable thing to do.
It is.
You could put up a little sign saying, sorry, we're not taking further applications. That's all you need to do. There's no harm that comes from it. But for some reason, Sunak and the rest of them are just millions and millions. And in fact, if we go to the next one, you can see they're expecting over 1 million, 997, just under 1 million, 997,000 net this year.
Home Office fears. I don't think they fear it at all.
No.
Well, exactly. They don't fear it because if they feared
policy,
it,
surely.
exactly, they could just say no, denied.
If you are thinking in terms, and as I believe, these people are thinking in terms of increased surveillance, facial recognition, and more control, then civil disturbance and civil stress is exactly what you want. You don't want a cohesive, intelligent, and well-educated workforce or people. You want them to be distracted by all sorts of internal strife of one kind or another. But the biggest mistake we make as a people is to trust the people we elect.
Oh,
I don't know why anyone does that.
When we finally stop that. But back in the day, back in the day with I disagreed with John Smith on Europe, say, but if you look at I disagreed with Peter Shaw on domestic policy, but they were honest, straightforward politicians, and you got the feeling from them that they cared about British people. When was the last time you had a politician stand up and give you the feeling that they actually cared about what's happening to people in this country?
There's a part of me that thinks that Tony Blair played a great game here because he had this kind of plastic exterior that was very shiny and sounded convincing. But everything he did undermined this country. Everything that he did.
He's one of the most toxic people in public life.
Absolutely. And it was just there was a format that he presented that could fool the regular person who wasn't paying attention to politics into thinking, oh, this guy seems okay. And it allowed underneath it all of the evil to come in with it. I'm certain it is at that sort of time where the politicians, essentially the global agenda was allowed to come in under those auspices.
Yes, I think it was.
I'm certain.
Yes.
I think it was.
But it may have been earlier. It may have been here for a lot longer.
Do you remember the Formula One thing? I'm a pretty regular kind of guy. Do you remember all that?
As if you are.
As if you are, mate.
As if.
Really.
Yeah. Anyway, so just going back to Matt Hancock to finish this up, he was doing an interview the other day on this podcast.
Looking very casual.
Yeah, he is. He's not in government now.
It's got that ex-boy band vibe going on.
But he claimed that when he stopped on the street, 9 out of 10 people who stop him think he's brilliant.
Oh, yeah, right, of course.
I have real trouble believing this.
He's lying.
Yeah,
Of course he's lying.
He's been lying since the day.
lying.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're doing quite a lot saying you don't deserve the amount of shit.
Yeah.
Yes, you do, mate.
Yes, you do.
In fact, you deserve
An awful lot more.
1,000 more.
Unfortunately, community standards prevent me from saying what I think Matt Hancock deserves. Moving on, though, he does assure us that he is, quote, a human being.
No, I don't believe
So I
that.
don't believe that either.
Yeah, where's the proof of that?
Yeah. Who's this?
Citation needed.
Also, he's had a nice holiday on that money he got from
Yeah.
I'm a Celebrity, isn't
Yeah,
he?
he was going to hand it all over. They'd only go 10% or something.
Yeah.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
But it's just weird because I just feel that real human beings don't actually need to say that.
No, they don't.
That's the sort of thing that an alien overlord would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Yeah, exactly.
But what I thought was really disgusting, actually, and like, I just genuinely hate Matt Hancock.
Yes.
Danny Kruger, a Conservative MP, gave a speech at the National Conservatives Conference, literally just saying the most common sense thing you've ever heard. The normative family, the mother and father sticking together for the sake of the children, is the only basis for a safe and functioning society.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Where's the controversy there?
I would have one small caveat with that,
Go on.
because that smacks to me as a kind of anti-gay marriage thing.
So
I would have a problem with that.
the pushback on that would be that gay marriage can't obviously produce children.
No, it can't.
And so,
well, hold on.
well, traditionally speaking.
Traditionally speaking, yeah.
And so he's not wrong that the basis of the generative basis of society has to be heterosexual.
I agree with that.
And again, I'm not in any way against gay marriage. Of course, I'm very liberal on those perspectives. Why would I want to, right?
There is this, sorry to cut through, but David
Yeah.
Curtin uses those expressions.
He does.
Traditional family values. And the minute I hear that, my antenna goes up.
Yeah, me too.
I appreciate that.
You
I
know,
do
like
appreciate
John
that.
Major.
And like John Major, getting back to basics.
I do appreciate that because
Yeah.
I've got no desire to tell gay people they can't get married or something, but he is right that we do have to begin from the point that it's men and women getting married and having children,
Yes.
and staying together for the children.
I agree.
That raises a good society.
Yes.
And obviously you can have exactly. But the main trunk of a civilization, right? And of course you're going to have people on the fringes who don't quite fit into that, and that's fine. We don't want to persecute them or anything. No one wants anything like that. They should be respected, but we have to accept the reality that a civilization continues on the great river of existence.
I agree, and that's absolutely true.
Right, and so it's a totally uncontroversial statement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That's, in my opinion,
Okay.
it's just obviously true and always has been.
Yeah.
We don't want to, getting into the weeds. Right.
Yeah.
Matt Hancock called that offensive and wrong.
He's offensive and wrong.
Yeah, well, he is. Yeah, that's a great point. Matt Hancock is offensive and wrong, but look at his expression. I mean, he's struggling to comprehend what's happening. Right?
Yeah.
But he says, it's so offensive and wrong, a completely fringe view of the Conservative Party. Can we please stop talking about this? No.
Can we please stop talking about this?
It seems important.
It's important. It's absolutely important.
And if it's not important to the Conservative Party...
Yeah. Well, I think this is the long march through the institutions. That's what we're seeing.
He's now saying, Matt Hancock is now saying, look at the king and his family, and what a good example they are, sort of thing. Well, they're not a very good example at all, are they?
But is Matt Hancock a good example?
No, he's not.
No.
Didn't he cheat on his wife?
Yes.
Yeah. Like cheating on his wife, got caught on some sort of camera.
Yeah.
Ended up
He
divorcing.
George Osborne. I'd keep that quiet, mate, if I was you.
Like, it's just... But also, okay, Matt, let's say
What a clown.
that Danny Kruger is wrong. What's your alternative?
Yes.
If it's not men and women having children and raising them in love,
Yeah. Well, this harks back to the Jordan Peterson fear, where it's become not uncommon for some couples to swear they will never have children because they don't want to bring them into this awful world, and the average Muslim family celebrate having children. It's what they make in a big family. It's a great thing. Now, and we've talked ourselves into this weird place in the West where having children has become the problem.
yes.
And we large families are frowned upon. It's kind of weird, I think.
But that can only lead to a collapse of our civilization.
Well, that's the whole
only be the case.
slow suicide of Europe thing. Absolutely. And Europe doesn't have any self-confidence, and in a way, I don't know whether I agree with it, but it does strike you that it's tired, that Europe's tired of saying what it is, tired of being proud, tired of being, liberal and diverse. It's just worn out with it,
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
And I remember when we were promoting in Japan, and we were in a hotel right above this major intersection, these roads, and as you saw all the Japanese people crossing, not one blonde hair. Not
Why
one.
would there be?
Yeah, because the gene pool is solid.
Yeah, it's Japan.
It's Japan. Yeah, exactly.
Japan's a country full of Japanese
Yeah,
people.
and I remember looking at it thinking, right, okay. Now, if that was a crossing in London.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My sister spent a few years teaching English in South Korea, and she's a very progressive person.
Right.
You know, very, very progressive. And she came back and was like, yeah, they all do kind of look the same. You know, and I was like, you're not allowed to say that. You know?
No, exactly. Exactly.
I'm not allowed to say that.
When we were had a couple of meetings in London yesterday, and we're sitting at a cafe, and you hear languages from all over the world, and I have no issue with that.
No, I love it.
And you see, there's this one Chinese girl or a Japanese girl, I think, sorry, and she was dressed up as a punk, and there's two Muslim women in all the garb go walking the other way, and I think it's great as long as everybody just leaves everybody else alone.
But
that's my issue with this.
I don't have a problem with it in microcosm, right? You know, if it were like there were a few districts of London that were incredibly multicultural, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
Right? And it would actually be an interesting thing to go and visit.
Yeah.
But man, you should see the high street here. Like we're just a little English town.
Yeah, yes.
You know, and now we are like 1/5 immigrant, and it's just like, and this is the problem. Like it. I bump into friends in the street, and they're like, "Mate, where am I?" You know, they've lived in this town their whole lives, and they are like, it's exactly as you say, walking down this high street. It's languages from all over the world, people from all over the world. It's like, where have I gone?
Yeah,
right, okay.
You know, and I've been here my whole life.
But previously, what I think is interesting is that people think that it's about numbers.
Well, I think
it is about numbers, obviously, when you're talking about millions. I agree.
Yeah.
But I think much more importantly, it's about tribe and it's about religion. That's what I think. If you had a bunch of people coming in who were happy to be here, celebrated the fact that it was liberal and diverse and open, blah blah blah, practiced their religion, and you go to church, you go to the mosque, you go to the synagogue, whatever. Absolutely fine, but that's not what it is.
Yeah.
We have a whole big bunch of people now who, in the absence of establishing a caliphate in the Far East, are deciding to do it over here.
See, that's only one aspect of the problem, though, because, and I agree with you, obviously, on that. You know, obviously, because when they say, "Oh, we'd like the immigrants to integrate," historically, integration meant intermarriage, right? You would come here and you would marry an Englishman, right?
Yeah.
And that's what my grandfather did. My grandfather was from St. Helena. He was a black man, came over to help with the war effort against the Nazis, and he married an Englishwoman, right?
Oh, okay.
And so my dad's half, and therefore, that's how it goes. But that's the point. That's what integration is.
Yeah.
You know, it's where you marry into the society, but that's just not happening, right? You'll see the couples are like, two Indians or two Chinese, and it's like, you're not. So now it's like the sort of ethnic enclaves that have got sharp borders. They don't cross their borders.
No.
And that's not good. But also, like you were saying, the Shin number. And if it was like 30,000 a year who came in and then intermarried, you wouldn't notice.
No.
You wouldn't notice. No one would talk about immigration because there would be no problem with immigration.
No.
And you would have, like, as you were saying, you'd have this interesting. You'd have small areas that would be interesting areas to go to.
Yeah.
That you'd be like, okay, that's no problem.
Like Chinatown in London.
Exactly, right? And no one complained about it. But now it's like, Leicester, 30% English, 33% English, Luton, 33% English. So hang on, these are not English cities anymore.
No.
There's some sort of global cosmopolitan civilization that has inserted itself. And it's not from any one place. No. It's from all over the place,
Yeah, and there's also this weird attitude it seems to me that comes from the left, which is that if you're if you worry about your community disappearing, you're a racist. You're a bigot and a racist.
Well, you can't discuss immigration without being called a racist.
No.
If you show any concern or you want a discussion at any level, you must therefore be a racist if you want to raise that.
It's mental.
Yeah.
It is mental.
It has to be about services. That's my thing with immigration. The whole thing has to be, if you can't guarantee, what Fred said earlier, you have to be able to guarantee not just local people the services they need, but you've got to give the immigrant population the hope and the opportunities that they deserve.
Yeah, which they're not going to get.
Which they're not going to get, and nor a local community is going to get them either.
But I like I said, I speak to my friends. I've lived here 25 years, but they've lived here their whole lives. My wife's been here their whole life, and they say to me, I just feel like this is just somewhere I've never been before.
Okay.
And so it's not for them about services. For them, it's about like love of the place in which they live.
No, I understand that.
It's very Scrutonian.
I understand that.
Yeah.
My point is, though, that when politicians talk about immigration, they never talk about the services.
No, they don't.
They rarely. They paint. They polish their liberal credentials and their diversity credentials and all that. To me, the whole when I hear somebody rattling on pro-immigration, the first thing I think is, why aren't you rattling on about local people?
Yeah.
Why aren't you rattling on about the education, the schools, the services, the hospitals? Why isn't that your priority, particularly if you're an elected representative? That's what I don't get. And that, to me, is a really good example of the degree to which a lot of politicians are completely disconnected from the people they represent.
Also, without those local services, you're doing a disservice to immigrants who come in, because they will fall between the cracks. There won't be the infrastructure for them. And it's
and we see it. We see people becoming resentful against British society.
Yeah, we do. And
we see them on TV all the time. For some reason, they're given.
Well, I'm resentful against some British society.
I was born here. I agree, but we see this kind of just open antipathy to Britain as a concept, right? The history of Britain and the existence of Britain.
It's that white
Dr. Scholar.
Dr. Scholar.
That ilk, and it's just.
Do you remember that guy was reported for having the St. George's flag outside his flat?
Oh, that's happened a few times.
Yes, and I had a place in Spain for years, and my wife lived there the whole time, and I commuted in and out. And the Catalan flag and the Spanish flag is common. You see it on even most expensive apartments will hang it, and it's part of the almost part of the street furniture, if you like.
It's the national flag.
And nobody ever questions if it's a racist thing or national or what. But over here, it's some sort of big deal. I remember. Do
you remember Emily Thornberry getting in trouble in 2013
with the van?
Yeah, with the van.
Yes,
and she's just like, look at this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bunch of English flags in England.
What's your problem?
Yeah.
Exactly. What's your problem?
Exactly. I know.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, and if you want to support our work, you can come on down to the website and sign up and watch videos like Brokenomics number 20, which looks at universal basic income, which is a bad idea in my opinion. And if you want to check out what Dan is doing on Twitter, the person who runs this series, you can check him out at kingbingo_. Thank you very much for watching.